Oh yeah, I discovered the Borg. Oh my. Hello Internet and welcome to something a little different. This is a Modular Encounter Systems tutorial video. Coincidentally, if you are here for the tutorial and don't want to see all the random other intro gubbins, just skip it and the little thing down on the bar that says intro. Just go past that, you're good. So, for those of you who do know who I am, this is the Borg Cube. I talked about in the Ship of the Week video that I had some plans for this, even though it didn't succeed as a Ship of the Week ship in under an hour. I still thought it was cool and put a lot of effort into it and decided I wanted to use it. So, this is what we're doing with it. Coincidentally, I sort of am seeing this video as a sort of series finale special for Season 1 of Ship of the Week. I plan on taking a break from it, and I don't know how long the break will be, when or if I'll come back, but it was a fun series, and once I have a little bit more kind of re-inspiration to keep doing it, I think I may come back and do more. But a break I feel is in order, and this seems like a good way to wrap it up. So, let's hop into character control, and I'll kind of give you a bit of a tour. The Borg Cube hasn't changed much. I added, well, on the outside, I added a few guns around, just kind of give it a little bit more firepower. But the real interest is in here. So yeah, it's a lot busier in here. This is everything connected, piped up, gyros, thrusters. We have cryotubes for all of the Borg compatriots. It's all done. It theoretically all works. I did a bit of testing and moved some thrusters that were cooking the pipes. But yeah. It's pretty, whoops, I fell off. It's pretty cool. It looks a lot like what I kind of envisioned it would look like. I have these lights kind of shining on the core here. Yeah, I'm pleased with how this turned out. There's not really, I guess, too much functionally to show. It's got a lot of the parts we added. It's got a lot of gyros. There's a lot of green glowies. That's kind of it. Who knows, maybe if you encounter one of these, put the mod in your world, it'll give you something fun to explore and dig around. So, I think we'll go ahead and start the tutorial proper, and the first thing I plan to do in that tutorial proper is switch to Steam. So, here I am, just normal Steam library, gonna go to the Space Engineers Workshop, and I'm going to pull up the Modular Encounter System Steam page. Here, this is useful if you want to make a Modular Encounter System mod, created by Meridius9, who also created a whole bunch of actual ship mods for it that you can download and kind of pull apart and play around with. The thing we are here for is right here, this little here. This particular here takes you to the Modular Encounter Systems wiki, which I'm not going to click because I already have it up in another window, but this is going to be our friend through this. This wiki has all the info, and most all the info you need to make a mod in the Modular Encounter System. There's this kind of section has various stuff for admin whatnots and testing, which is very handy for actually testing your mod. Then the modding section, you just kind of go through here. It has explanations for all the different parts, different things you can do. This section here, the templates, these are kind of how you get started. So if I go ahead and click on one, you can see these chunks of text. You can just copy it all and put it into an IDE or Word doc or however, whatever you want to do. And it has all the parts you need to kind of get the basic things started. So, now that we've seen that, I'm going to actually move it back over here. We'll dive back into Space Engineers. We'll do a quick look around of the Borg cube, more specifically for the parts you need when designing a ship. So I guess the initial sort of things to keep in mind, you should figure out what exactly you want your Modular Encounter System mod to do, how you want it to behave, and from there, use that as the philosophy for building the ships for it. Because how these work, they spawn in a ship, and that is sort of the thing you want players to interact with. You sort of have to think less like a player who wants a powerful, exciting ship, and more like a game designer who wants to create a fun challenge for a player without making the player feel too overwhelmed or feel like it's impossible to deal with. Now, the Borg cube may not be a great example of what I just said because it's a nightmare, but my idea for this mod is specifically to make it so that it's an end game. You've collected a whole bunch of stuff, you've got a bunch of ships, your threat score, which is something the Modular Encounter System uses to determine how dangerous you are as a player, that's going to be very high for this to spawn. So it's sort of an in-game boss threat thing. I'm even then going to make it fairly unlikely to spawn. So that's kind of the mindset. You have to think about what you want out of the thing, out of your mod, and then design for that. If you just want pirate ships flying around, you probably don't want to coat them in weapons. You know, maybe a few interior turrets is all you need, so that the player can still get in, take out the ship, and capture it if they want. But they don't feel, you know, you want it to be challenging, but not too challenging. So, let's go in. We'll kind of do a quick rundown. So, I guess one important thing, if you're building a ship, you should make sure all your doors are closed from the blueprint. Because if they aren't, well, people can just get straight into the ship. And that's not very useful. So, I know all the doors except for this one are closed, but if you want to just double check, you can click on a door, find all your doors, highlight them, and then do that. That will close them all. So that's a good thing to do, a good step in the process. In terms of blocks you need, the only extra things, I guess, that you might not necessarily put in a ship by default, you need to have an antenna. I don't know if you strictly do. You might be able to build a ship without an antenna. In fact, I think you can. But an antenna is going to create an antenna signature that your players playing your mod will be able to see. And if they can't see your ship, they can't interact with it. The other thing that you need to have is a remote control block. Now, normally if you just had like a cockpit in your ship, you wouldn't, put a remote control. They aren't necessarily useful for something with a crew. They can be, but they aren't needed. Modular Encounter System uses this remote control to move the ship. That is actually the thing that is controlled. So without that, Modular Encounter System won't work. The ship will just sit there. You can, if you want, go around and make sure weapons are, set how you want them with the correct settings. You can put ammo in them and put stuff in the cargo if you want there to be loot in the cargo. Though a lot of that you can control from in the Modular Encounter System mod. There are ways to set containers so that they have cargo in them, spawned randomly. I don't know how to do that, so I won't be, but you can. And you can do stuff like have the mod automatically fuel all your tanks and arm all your weapons so you don't have to put ammo in them. But you can if you want. So, once your ship is set up how you want it, you know you have everything in. Once you have enough energy, one moment. So once you feel your ship is ready, the step to do go ahead and hit Control C in creative mode, of course. Let it load for a second. There it is. So you want to create a copy of the ship, sort of like how you copy and paste stuff in a Word doc or in the game if you know how to do that, which you do now. So, create a copy. You don't actually need to see it, but you can see if I hit Control V now and wait another second, and then wait another second. There it is again. So it's stored in my copy and paste clipboard. Now what I'm going to do is hit F11. So, this is one of the sort of debug menus. I don't know exactly what all it does, but it has this button here, Export Clipboard to File. This is how you get your ships out of the game. I don't know for sure why you can't just use the blueprints folder. We'll see that in a second. Which is where all your blueprints you take are stored. But I guess it's slightly different file information that's put in. I don't know exactly how it works, but for Modular Encounter System, you do it this way. So we will hit that. You can see there is a big old list that leads to where that folder is. I can hit F11 again. Oh lord. I'm just going to hit escape and run away from all that. I don't know what that was. So, now, we are, for the moment at least, done with Space Engineers. We'll go back to Steam, just to have it in a window. Then the next step is to go down to your search bar, or however you navigate searching, and type in %appdata%. This is the land of mods. So, in this folder, the app data roaming folder, it has files for all kinds of different programs. Yours will probably look slightly different depending on what programs you have installed, but if you kind of look down, scroll down until you get to Space Engineers, click on that. This is all the game files, local game files for Space Engineers. So, we have our blueprints folder up here, which is where all your blueprints live. This export folder, this is where we just sent the Borg cube. We can actually get rid of that, don't worry about it. So that is our Borg cube, the export we have. We'll leave it in there for a moment, because I'm going to go 2 more down. This is the mods folder. This is where you manually install mods. Steam mods that you get from Steam are stored in a different location in the Steam workshop folders. You can Google how to get to that. And that can be useful for if you want to use a Steam file as an example file. You can get to the files there. I may show that at the end. But for mods that you want to make yourself, you create the folders in here. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder called the Borg. So I'm going to use as an example the mod I created for Marooned on Triton, which is the BuddyBots mod. This isn't on the workshop yet. Guess maybe it's not a great example to use then, but it's useful for, well, it's a good example because I know how it works. So I guess actually I should show real quick how you would go about doing stuff if you don't already have a mod created, because that is important. So for any mod for Space Engineers, you need a data folder and a metadata.mod folder. The data folder is where all the data for the mod lives. And this is just sort of an indicator. I don't fully know what it does, but it's important. Now, I don't know. You might just be able to... Oh, it opens as a media file. That's exotic. I don't quite know what this is, or how to create it, or any of that. What I do know is how to steal it from something. So, what we're going to do is we're actually going to, I talked about doing this later, we're going to do this now. I'm going to show you how to find downloaded mods, because it's useful to have. So, I'm going to go, these are the collection of mods for the Modular Encounter System, the actual ship mods. I am going to go, let's do this one. The Ember Corporation, or the Air Traffic mod, for those of you who've been around a while. This is a Modular Encounter System mod. It has everything set up. When you download it, you have all the files. If we go over here, right-click and hit Copy Page URL, then create a new that. If I paste this in here, this is the URL to this web page. This string of numbers back here, this is important. So, we have that, it's ready to rock. Next, I'm going to go, I believe it's up to Steam and Settings. Yes. So in here, you can look for this that says Library in the Steam settings. Nope, maybe it's Downloads? Downloads. So, this is where you would set stuff up for your Steam library folders. That button there. You can see I have Steam library folders. I believe, yes, if you hit this little 3 dots, you can hit Browse Folder, select your actual Steam data folder. This will take you to the Steam Apps folder. This is where all your Steam games and all Steam downloads live. Because we're looking for a workshop mod, we go to the workshop folder. Then I believe it's content. Yes. So, Steam Apps Workshop Content. Your URL list will probably be slightly different than this, or it could be, it may not be. But this is where you want to be. Now, these 4 random strings of numbers, they are random strings of numbers. If I click on, let's say this one, because I think this one will work. It's another folder full of numbers. You have no idea what any of these are. I'll click on this again. This is a mod downloaded to a particular game. So the first string of numbers, this folder, this is a game's Steam ID. These are all mod Steam IDs. That string of numbers that we took, that's the mod ID from Steam. So that's the easy way to figure out in a sort of human readable fashion where the mod is in this folder if, say, you have a bunch. Now, if I'm right, yeah, this is not actually Space Engineers. I could have just clicked on the Space Engineers one. I know it's this one because I've done this before. The number might be the same. It might not be. I don't know. But the easy way to tell is what I did there before. If you click on it, click on a mod, find a thumbnail image. Okay, this is Space Engineers. Oh boy, what a thumbnail. So that's the easiest way I've found to figure out where you are. Once you're in the right game, you can go up to search. I'm going to, okay, I did copy that, but copy the ID, go into search, and here it is. So if I look at the thumb, Ember Corporation, that's the mod we wanted. So, the basics, and this is kind of how I've created mods. The efficacy of it is, I guess, semi-debatable, but they're here and available, and Meridius 9 gives us the basics to start from in their sort of wiki start thing too, so I don't see this as much of a step beyond just advanced following the wiki. But to get the metadata.mod folder for your mod, just copy it and paste it in your folder. That's as simple as it is. Now, again, I don't know quite what's in this or how to deal with it, but I've done this before. It doesn't seem to care. You can probably find something that will open a .mod folder. The IDE you use to program in might do it already. A little spoiler for a bit later, I actually use Notepad, not Notepad++, just basic Notepad for this. Because it works, it's just XML editing. It's not real programming, in quotes, real. But we have that. I'm just going to go ahead. What's in? I think this one's actually a pretty basic modular encounter mod. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the data folder too. So again, you're sort of copying work, which we're trained is a bad thing to do. But it is the quickest way to get a mod going, and so long as you aren't claiming it as entirely your own work, which would be silly because it's based on the Modular Encounter System, or trying to like sell it as an idea, you're probably pretty good. Just always remember to give credit, say where you got it from, be honest about it, and all is good. And if you're doing it for yourself and not publishing it, go to town, who cares? So, now that we have this, this is kind of the basic beginnings of a mod. I mean, actually, technically, this is point for point the Ember Corporation mod at the moment. We need to go in and change some things. In the data folder, this is where all of the mod info lives. For Modular Encounter System mod, if you recall from the templates option, we have a spawn group.sbc and a factions.sbc. I may actually, for sake of ease, I'm just going to go ahead and delete everything in here. It's gone, bye-bye. Because then I can create a new text document. We'll call it spawn group. And a new text document called factions. These are two blank text documents. I believe what I can do real quick, that's another level. So you may not have the file extension showing on your thing. If you don't, look up how to find or how to see file extensions of documents. Because that's important for that, because if you can see it, and if you click things right, you can edit it. If I just type .sbc, it brings up this warning that if I change the extension, it might become unusable. I don't care because I know what I'm doing. That's now an SBC file. That's as easy as it is to change what the file is. Now, it doesn't work for everything. You can't just click on an MP4 file and convert it to a GIF by changing the text at the end. That won't work. But it works for things like this because they're both formats for holding text. So, now that I've done that, we'll go ahead and we will copy the factions text into there and the spawn group text into here. With those in there, I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to my Space Engineers folder, back to the root for Space Engineers. I'm going to go back into export. I'm going to hit Control X to cut the Borg cube export. Back into mods, back into my mod, back into data. Now I'm going to hit Control V. So, that is the Borg cube SBC. We have the spawn group, and we have the factions. Now it's just plugging stuff in. So I'll start with the factions here. The nice thing about the templates is they do have some text to give you a general idea of what's supposed to happen. You can see where this says fact tag, which is not something you want to say fast. That is the tag for your faction. So that is the little like thing that comes up in front of the antenna name. If you see in Space Engineers, it'll be like, and I can't remember, SPRT dot whatever is for Space Pirates, which is the default enemy in the game, so you've probably seen it. So this is like the SPRT. So for this, I'm going to type in Borg. This Founders section here, this is actually I have this up still so I can look at it. So in the factions, yeah, this is a good tool. See, you can see SPRT, name, Space Pirates, we'll fill that out in a second. Oh, so it just has Space Pirates as the founder. It just shows up here. It's not as important, but it's a thing we can set. So, we'll do this as the Queen. And then going down, this handily labeled do not edit, so don't edit it. It just kind of indicates that this is a faction. The subtype ID, this is something you edit. This is sort of the name for this chunk. And this name is how we call things in other files. So we want to make it something unique to just this, and something ideally fairly easy to remember so that we can throw it into the next thing fairly easily. So we'll just call it the Borg, maybe with a underline for ease. Okay, so now we get into a bit of the nitty-gritty. All of this stuff in this chunk, I can actually make this a bit bigger for ease of viewing. So all of this in this chunk is all the info for the faction. So faction name, we will have the Borg. Nice and easy. That's what will show up on that page here under name. So it'll be nice and clear who they are. Is default, I believe you just want to leave as true. Some of this stuff I don't fully understand what it is, but it's not changed in any of the mods. I guess that should be something I should have front-loaded. Maybe I'll edit that in. But in general, the best way to learn this stuff is just open the mods like I showed you how to do, poke around in the folders, poke around in the files, and see what things do. You can look them up in the wiki fairly easily. It's fairly easy to navigate. So that's how I'd recommend really learning this. This will hopefully get you on the right start, but you'll be able to do a lot more stuff if you just kind of see what has been done, get ideas, and figure it out. Is the best way to, I don't know, seems silly for a tutorial and just say figure it out for yourself, but it really works. So, is default, we're just going to leave that true because I think it's important to. Default relation, you can see we have a list of things it can be. This is the Borg, so we want them to be enemies. Neutral will be, well, neutral, they won't be friendly towards you, and they won't be enemies. Friends are friends. Enemies is probably what you're going to want to do most of the time. Enemies or neutral, maybe. So, except humans, you should probably set as false. Auto accept also set as false. These are actually controlling toggles in the game. So, if I create a quick faction here, there we go, faction. So, you can see accept everyone, accept peace. I think there's a button that allows you to, and that's edit. Oh no, I guess accept everyone is automatically accept. Accept humans would mean that physical players versus NPCs, which really doesn't matter too much. Yeah, we want both of those as false because we don't want players to become... I guess it could be kind of fun to have players become the Borg, but I don't think that's quite fitting. Starting balance doesn't really matter. It determines how many space credits they have. You can set the type of faction, which also I don't think really matters. This discovered by default. This basically says if from the get-go players will see in that menu I keep showing the Borg. Or, as it's set now, they won't until they first encounter the Borg, which is how I'm going to leave it because that's fun. And then this faction icon, you can use this to set up specific factions, or, well, specific icons. This is currently a file path to an in-game file for the Space Pirates. I don't think I'm going to change it because it doesn't really come up. People aren't going to be staring at the factions menu thinking, ooh, they're the Borg, and looking at a cool Borg image. But that would be if you wanted to use a custom one, you could either change it to one of the faction icons that are in the game by probably going into this and just choosing a different end file, or you can set it to be completely separate and link to a file that's in your mod, using the path of your mod. And I believe if you do that, just real quick, because it'll help mentally wise. So, say I wanted to link to a picture that I have. Imagine this is a .jpeg file. Because this factions, imagine these are the same factions, even though this isn't the right folder. Because this factions is in the same level, they're both files, so they're at the same level. They aren't in subfolders. All you would do is just do the file name. So I would take spawngroups.jpg and put it there. If I wanted to link from, say, a texture or an images folder I have in here, then I would do, imagine prefabs, and this assault bot is an image. I would do prefabs / buddybot assaultbot.sbc. That's how you link folders to files. Some of you may know that, some of you may not, so it's helpful to learn. So I'm just going to leave that the same, though. And that is all we really need to set up in factions. So we'll save that, exit it out, and pull up our spawn group. So, spawn groups are the meat and potatoes of the Modular Encounter System. This is where the magic happens. So we'll kind of go from the top and work our way through it. So, like before, we don't change spawn group definitions. That says what this whole chunk is. It says do not edit, so don't edit it. Our subtype ID, we want to be unique. So we will set this to probably Borg cube. And don't hit enter. You can, but you shouldn't. So we go down into the description. This you want to leave. It just says that this is a spawn group. These settings, I guess these 5, you'll probably only want to tick one of them. These indicate what type of thing this is and indicate where it will spawn. So, space cargo ship, that's what we want for this. We're going to mark true. Everything else, lunar cargo ship means it would spawn on the moon. I think if this spawns on a moon, it will fall out of the sky, so we won't do that. Space random encounter means it will spawn in space, but not as a ship, so we don't really want that. Atmospheric cargo ship, this thing cannot fly in atmospheres on planets, so no. Planetary installations are like buildings and houses. It's not one of those either. So, all those you can leave false except for space cargo ship. Coincidentally, if you are building something that's one of these other things, set it to true. All of these are also listed in the wiki, So you can see kind of what options you have, how many things there are, and what each thing does. So with that true, since we don't actually need any of these, I'm just going to get rid of them, give a little space, and then rival AI spawn. I think that now, I'm not sure, but it's possible that now you don't need this because they all use rival AI, but I'm going to set it to true anyway. And that's going to let it use, basically, rival AI is the Modular Encounter System version of sort of ship AI. It's what allows the ships to fly around, do interesting maneuvers, and try and attack or evade the players. By default, ships use the in-game AI that the in-game cargo ships use, which is essentially they just spawn and go forward, which is fun, but it's not quite as exciting, and you can do a lot more if you set it to use rival AI. Next step, faction owner. It's currently set to SPRT. We don't want that. We want Borg. So that is going to call, if I pull up from the right folder actually. So if I pull up our factions, because we named our faction tag Borg, this will look for that faction tag in the faction system. Because we have a factions tag, it will create this. So that is that. Replenish systems. I mentioned this earlier. This is the thing that has the mod essentially add hydrogen and ammo to the ship. So as long as it is controlled by the Modular Encounter System, it will have ammo, it will have hydrogen and oxygen and all that stuff. Even though the Borg cube doesn't need anything but ammo, it's good to hit true on this just to have it. Oh, and I was slightly wrong. Rival AI spawn... Shoot. Okay. So this is a thing that happens regularly. You get confused about what you're doing, so you go to the wiki. So I'll show you real quick how to control or how to use that. So, I'm trying to understand what rival AI spawn does versus use rival AI, which is what I thought rival AI spawn did. So if I hit this spawn group, because we're in the spawn group folder, this has all the info for spawn groups. So I should be able to just scroll down some of this list. Maybe. Okay, I'm not seeing spawn conditions. Okay, spawn conditions is where we want. You just kind of have to click through things until you find kind of what you're looking for. But you can see this has like the space cargo ship, lunar cargo ship, that stuff. We don't want any of this. Well, here's some rival AI stuff. One downside I've found, I think things have changed since the default spawn group and factions thing were made, and those haven't really changed. So, again, I think now everything is a rival AI spawn by default. I believe they work together. Okay. So third thing, I'm not getting things very clear from the wiki. So this is where it's handy to go into another mod and see how it does it. So you could do this with the Ember Corporation mod or any other modular encounter mod. I'm just going to use mine because it's quick and easy. So here's the spawn group folder for some of the buddy bots. And it is a different format, I believe, to this. To a degree. Oh no, actually, so it used rival AI true. Okay. It does not have rival AI spawn in this list, so presumably we don't actually need that. I'm just going to leave it in because it's in, and we'll see what happens, but hopefully I'll remember to delete that if things explode. So, anyway, I don't know quite what this does, but what I said this does, which is have it use the rival AI, that's this. True. Then, rival AI replace remote control. So, rival AI is a mod, it's modded to use the remote control block to give it new AI. So, if we want it to use rival AI, we need to have remote control on the grid, and then I believe you also need to set this to true. And what this will do, essentially where the remote control is in the grid already, it will be deleted and replaced with the modded rival AI remote control, which will let it do all the fancy things. So yeah, that is that first section. Moving on, so is pirate true? It says don't edit it. Don't edit it. Even if you aren't trying to make a pirate, this, I don't know quite what it is, but it seems to be required for anything to spawn. So leave that there. Frequency. Now, I'm still not 100% sure how this works, but I believe it's a, decimal point number, but I believe it represents a percentage. So maybe this is 5% or 50%. I'm still not very clear. Essentially what I've found is just do testing and tweak this number until it spawns when you want it. Or just leave it and see what happens. Or, dig through documentation, try and find answers for yourself. There are many ways to kind of figure that out, but functionally you can leave it as is and it'll work. Next, we're into the exciting thing. This is the prefab. So, if you remember, in our mod folder, we copied over the borgcube.sbc. Your prefab name here, this is where we put borgcube.sbc. Let me just double check, because I'm pretty sure you do the extension, but no. So BuddyBot space CargoBot. If we look in, so because there are multiple ships, I have a prefab folder into BuddyBots. You can see that it's the name BuddyBot space CargoBot minus the file extension. So, yeah, just do that. Honestly, if you just copy, it's very easy to copy that, leave that, paste that. So, that is now going to call the Borg cube. Oh, now I don't remember. Just to keep things as I'm used to them, I'm going to create a prefabs folder. I don't know if you have to do that, but because it's not specifying in the other mod to look in prefabs / Borg cube, I feel like maybe it automatically looks for a folder called prefabs. So this may not be important, but it's kind of common to do, so I will do it. And it can be handy to keep things organized so you don't just have a bunch of files here, because you need a separate prefab for every ship. The next thing, position, this is how you can kind of, as I understand it, you can adjust the actual spawn in. So the game will say, here is the point at which this ship spawns in. It will be here, you know, an XYZ coordinate in a 3D plane. This allows you to offset that. So the game will still say XYZ is where you go, but if you want it for some reason to spawn at X plus 100, you would type that in, and then it'll spawn 100 points. I don't actually know the scale, which doesn't help. I think it's meters, which is like 2.8 per block, or 2.5 per block. I don't know math. This lets you offset things. It's not very useful for cargo ships, but if you are having, say, a cargo ship that spawns drones to defend it, and you want the drones to look like they're coming out of a hangar, you can use this, I believe, to kind of fine-tune the position. So, next is speed. This is the speed in meters per second the ship will be moving when it spawns. So, we will have 25 is probably good for this. The Porg cube is pretty slow to accelerate or decelerate, so that'll be fine. Yeah. Fairly self-explanatory. So behaviors, this section here, strictly speaking, you don't need it, but this is where things get fun. So, what I'm going to do, let's go back, we'll open up the BuddyBot folder. You can use the Ember Corporation or whatever thing you have downloaded, but go into data, and somewhere should be something that looks like, that says behavior or behaviors. Now, these are kind of a whole thing to themselves, and I'd be lying if I said I were an expert at them. But there's a whole section of the Modular Encounter Spawner, or Modular Encounter System wiki for them. And essentially, what you need is a folder, or a file, and you put this stuff in it. So actually, I probably don't need, should just, again, proves always stick to the wiki, because it leads you the right way. I'm going to create a text document called behaviors. I am going to do my trick to change it to an SBC. Yes, I know what I'm doing. And then in this, I'm going to copy everything from in here, put it into in here. So this is pretty well explained and documented. That's the chunk you need. This is a spawn group, and you can see in that thing that says behavior, here is a behavior listed. Now, where does it get? Yes, core behavior, I think is going to give me what I want. There are a bunch of preset, essentially, behaviors. They are these bits. So cargo ship, escort, fighter, horse fly, hunter. All these things, they all do specific stuff. So like the cargo ship, in the description, it kind of handles like a normal cargo ship. So it'll drive to a coordinate, keep going, it can trigger stuff. The fighter, on the other hand, it's designed to it will use static weapons, it'll approach a target, then kind of float around it and shoot at it. So basically, just look through, read the description, shop around for which AI you like best, that's going to suit your needs. I think hunter is what I want. Requires careful setup. That's not what I want. Yeah. So I believe what I want is horsefly, but I'm going to go and check because I know there's a behavior in my BuddyBots. Nope. That does what I want. And it is, there's a little Marooned on Triton spoiler. The defense bot, which we've not met yet, yes, uses horsefly. I don't remember what those things do. But you can see this is a good example. This is as simple as they can be. If you use one of the in the can settings, it'll just kind of do a set thing. Horsefly and Fighter will both automatically know where the player is and go to them, which is what I want the Borg to do, because if the Borg spawns, it's coming to attack. There are other more complex AIs that can do different things. Horsefighter does it. Hunter is one that the Reavers use, where they will fly around, and if they detect you, they come for you. That one, that's actually what most of the buddy bots use. But, yeah, Horsefly is what I want for this. So, we will go in here, change the name to Cube Behavior, and then we will change the behavior name to Horsefly, which basically just flies at the enemy and then stops a certain distance and uses turrets. So now what we want to do to link this in, copy the subtype ID from here, go into our mini things, find the correct spawn group, and paste it in. So, if I'm right, and I may or may not be, this mod should now work. So, what I'm going to do, we can close out of that stuff. We'll go back and just look at it. We have our metadata, we have our non-metadata. It should be in Space Engineers and ready, because we made it in the Space Engineers mods folder. So let's, come on. There we go, stick up there. We'll go ahead and exit to main menu and create a new world. And we're going to put the mod in and test it. Okay, so you have an empty world. I've called it Borg Test. Go into mods. And we see on our list of available mods is our mod, the Borg. That's because we have the metadata mod folder file thingy and the files. So it's in there, knows it's a mod. It is now in the game. We also need, wherever, Modular Encounters System. Because this is required to actually do all the AI stuff. That's why it's so easy to make the Modular Encounter mod, relatively. So, okay. I shouldn't need to do anything else to test it. So I will hit start. And while it's loading, I'm going to just go back to here. Go into the admin and configuration stuff. Just pull up admin options, because I believe... Change bool... Yes. So this info section has a bunch of stuff that you can type into chat that makes it very easy to tell what's working. And then this section below it is how you spawn stuff. So actually for our purposes, this is all we need is SSCS. So if I go into my chat with enter, type mes.ss, nope, that's not a dot, SSCS, hit enter, and nothing's happening. So just to double check, go to entity list, yeah, nothing spawned. Alright, now we go back. And a good thing to use is, I believe, get all profiles, which is this. Oh, no, right. I just said mes.sscs out loud. That doesn't help. You do /mes.sscs, hit enter. The game freezes for a moment. for a couple moments. That feels like the Borg. Oh boy. So this is a good showing. It's probably not nearly as painful for you, 'cause it's just a static image. I knew that my mouse was frozen. So there is now, out in space, a Borg cube. It's flying off somewhere. I can't see it yet, which is concerning, but I assume it's coming for me. We may just sit here for a moment and see if that happens. But, oh yeah, I discovered the Borg. Oh my. Oh no. That's unfortunate to see. Oh, it's big and angry. So, the Borg are here. You can see it's coming to me. I don't think I'm big enough to make it redirect. But I might. So I'm currently flying left. It was flying straight at me. And it still looks like it might be. Though it is drifting right. But it's not a very maneuverable ship. So you saw that stutter. That is the downside of having very large ships spawn in. There is a significant performance hit when they do. So it's something to keep in mind. Oh, the fireworks are about to start. Here we go. Yep, I'm being shot at from all over. Nothing heavy's fired at me yet. But there are a lot of bullets. Oh lord. So, the Firefly behavior basically just has the cube drift around and try and shoot you with its guns. Because the cube is designed with guns all over, it can shoot you very good. I may want to adjust how close it gets. Let's fly away. It will probably try and give chase. But I want to get far enough away to spawn a ship in, because I'm curious. So we saw that it will come after me, which is good. We saw that it will shoot at me, which is good. Now, I want to see if it will accidentally hit me as I am flying in my capital ship. So we'll use one of these and also lag out the game. Which is sad, because they aren't that big, but... Come on. Consequently, this is my Planet-class cruiser. It is on the workshop. Oh boy. Hello, Borg Cube. Let's get a bit of distance from the cube. It is following it like full speed. Okay. Spawn the ship. Watch the thrusters get in the ship. Oh boy. It's booking it. I need to get out of the way. Oh, hey, look, another Borg cube. So, oh, violence is happening. Oh boy. Oh, this isn't good at all. So, basically, you just play around with it. Play the game, just see what happens, see how it behaves. then you can fine-tune stuff. Oh, 2 Borg cubes. So one thing I believe is if I change the frequency, I can make it so that less Borg cubes spawn. I believe there's a way to adjust it so that there can only be a certain amount, and like make it so that only one spawns. I'll have to figure that out. I may do some poking around after. Let's just turn and fight. I partially want to see if the Borg cubes ram into each other. Oh boy, I may not live long enough to see. Right. So I'm just gonna sit here as the Borg cube blocks out the sun. This is pretty... This does have the visual effect I was hoping for of just... This is not a small ship, and these are massive enemies that feel untouchable. Like, there's a bit of damage, but they have so many weapons. They are definitely in close, but, I mean, that's fine. Oh, that was something important. Okay, the Borgs have not hit me or each other, which is good. The rival AI may have a sense of how big the ship is and can avoid ramming into things. These actually work perfectly. I love that they're spinning in place to get all their guns to bear. Oh, these are vicious. Right. So, I think I'm gonna leave you here for today. As we get eviscerated and eventually agglomerated, I guess, by the Borg. That would be great if I could make them grind me to death, but that's glitchy. Oh, are we gonna have a Borg collision? Oh. Oh, yep. The Borg cubes are meshing. Oh, I don't want to look at myself. Oh, boy. So, yeah. As a mod, I'm probably going to do some more fine-tuning on this, but this is the basics. You should be able, from kind of what I've shown you in my long, rambling mess of a tutorial, you should be able to get in, make a mod, make a ship, appear in the world, and fight you. Which is kind of the start of it, and then from there, you keep going, trying different things. You can explore the wiki, you can kind of explore mods, and that's kind of it. You just dig around, try things, and see what you can figure out. That's part of the fun. So yeah, thank you everybody so much for watching. Feel free to check out any other stuff I've done, and until next time, bye bye.